Hello. It's a boiling hot day. We're just back, literally just back from a bimble. About 10 o'clock, no, it's 9:30. It's only 9:30 in the morning. Thought it was much later. So I had a early bimble with Bodhi because I knew that the day was going to be a hot day. And then met one of my neighbours who I don't normally see very often, so I had a good chat with him. And he's been a bit poorly, but he's doing well now. So I've got a sweat on. It really is piping hot. And I thought I'd make this video to say that life is short. We all know that anyway. I think everything is a lesson. You know, there's lessons contained everywhere, and everything you see or hear or think or do or everywhere you go, there's always lessons to be learned, always. And various things teach us different things at different times. But life is short, and we need to remember that. So live our lives, you know, really live our lives in whatever way that we want to. The reason why I'm saying this, Facebook's a funny thing, but if you're not in a particular group and a friend or a family member posts something in that group, sometimes, not always, sometimes Facebook will send you a notification that this particular person has posted in this group. Anyway, so my sister had posted in this particular group, and the group was Memories of Then My Old School. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. I'm not overly interested in joining the group or seeing what's happened to people and all the rest of it, because you know, I'm 56 now. It's been 40 years, just over 41 in my case, since I left school. But curiosity gets the better of you sometimes. I didn't join the group, but it was open and I could read some of the statuses that people had put up, and then obviously reams of comments underneath statuses. And a familiar name cropped up, which was a boy I went to school with. It's funny because I think of them as being boys and girls because we were at school. Obviously now they're all grown men and women, much the same as I'm a grown man. But this particular friend, I looked at his photo, I didn't even recognise him. At first, you know, I knew the name, unusual surname, so I thought, oh, that is him. So I clicked on his profile, looked at a few photographs, and I realised it's definitely him, 100%, it couldn't be anybody else. And you know, we're all fatter and balder and greyer and all the rest of it, so you have to sort of look quite deeply into the photographs of people. But I went back onto the group and I read what he'd put. Which was essentially something like, does anybody remember me? I was at school from this year to that year. And several people came back under the comments, and then what I read kind of upset me. It's a bit strange really, because I'm no longer that child, but I do think, as I say, of these people as being children because I haven't known them in my adult life. But he said, are you aware? And then one of my old friends had died of cancer a couple of years ago. And obviously I'm not on the group, but somebody else commented, yeah, I've heard, and also so did, and then another one of my friends. And I carried on reading, and then there was two more of my old school friends that had died of cancer in the last, well, since 2016. So in the last sort of 4 years, or getting on for 4 years, they died, all those four died of cancer. And I sat and I thought about them, you know, I thought of silly things we did or conversations we had, and what they looked like. You know, just sort of spent some time thinking about them really as children. And then I thought, you know, because a lot of them perhaps left school at 16. I left at 15, but you know, if they left at 16, They died when they was 56. Gave them 40 years, really. 26, 36, 46, 56, yeah. Died at 56, so they had 40 years. So they had 40 Christmas days, 40 summers, perhaps 40 holidays. And I wonder about their lives, you know, did they have toothache to put up with? Did they have, obviously at the end they did, but prior to that, did they have illnesses that they were hospitalised over? What trials and tribulations did they have? Were they married, divorced? Did they have a hard time for a number of years? Were they homeless, drug addicts, whatever? I'm just thinking about all those sort of things. Then I thought about all the good things, you know, did they have children perhaps? Did they work for themselves? Did they achieve whatever goals or aspirations or dreams or whatever they had in life? Did they achieve any of them or some of them? Were their families proud of them? Did they move away? Did they try living in different areas? Did they experience a bigger life? Did they write a book? Yeah, it goes on and on really. Because since leaving school, in that 40 years, that very, very short time, I just wonder, did they live a life? Did they have a life? And how did they have that life? Had they had known when they were 16, if they could have said, okay, you're leaving school today, but just to let you know, you've only got 40 years of life now. So make it count. You've got 40 years. Would they have lived their life differently had they had known that? Of course, there's no way of knowing, I know, but had they had known that, you've got 40 years, make the most of it. Spend those years wisely. Whatever time you spend, you can't get back. If you spend time with a friend, that's valuable time that you're giving away, but then so is your friend giving that time away. Even a 10-minute phone call, you're giving that time away. So make that phone call to that person that does matter in life. And don't bother with the people that don't matter in life. The people that upset you, anger you, piss you off, whatever it may be, don't spend a single thought on those people, because that second or two that you're thinking about them is your life ebbing away. Life is short. But we do, don't we? We get into relationships, sometimes we get into arguments with people, we spend time with negative people, with people that don't matter, people that we don't want in our lives. We go through times that maybe we don't deserve, or we spend too much of our time and energy, efforts on things that are not going to work in the end anyway. And as I say, life is short. 40 years, from the age of 16 to 56, 40 Christmas days, as I've said. You know, had those people had known, I wonder if they would have lived their lives differently. So it puts things into perspective. When you hear that, when you see that and read that, it makes you a bit melancholy, it makes you a bit thoughtful, it makes you just take stock of your life. Who am I spending time with and why? Have I done what I want to do? Have I achieved what I've set out to achieve? Is there anything more that I'd like to add to my life? Have I got any aspirations left? How do I see my life panning out now for however long I've got left? And maybe we should assume that we've got a short amount of time left instead of thinking that life is eternal. But yeah, I spent the day really, or the greater part of the day, thinking about these people. And as I say, I can only envisage them as children. And yeah, I can even remember conversations. It's funny, when you really delve back, I can remember conversations. One of them, we sort of become friends, but he was really nasty. My mum left home when I was a little boy. When I was 12, my mum left home to get a divorce. She was gone for 2 years. And that's quite an impacting thing to happen to your life, especially in those sort of formative years and what have you. And that was a difficult time for me. I remember it was a difficult time. And my English teacher was very good. In fact, my English teacher, I since found out over the years and what have you that I've left school, he was a prisoner of war and went through a terrible, terrible time of it. And I didn't know that, obviously, when I was a child at school. I just saw him as, yeah, Mr. whatever, my English teacher. But I got on very well with him and really liked him. And he said to me one time, not long after my mum left, he said, "Can I have a word?" He said at lunchtime or whatever. And I went to see him, sat in his office, and he said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, fine." And he said, "It's not though, is it?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "What's going on? Is something going on at home?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I think there is." He said, "Do you want to talk?" And I said, "Well," anyway, I said, "Look, my mum's left home, but, you know, really I'm doing okay." And it was a short conversation. He was very sweet, I think, kind of caring, which was lovely. Yeah. The downside of that was he also called a couple of my friends in, and he said, "Just to let you know, if Brian's upset or angry or whatever, his mum's left home. He doesn't know where she is and hasn't seen her for 6 months," or whatever it was, you know. And really he shouldn't have done that, because children are children. So what the children did, and my two friends, went and told everybody, all and sundry. And one of these 4 people that have died now of cancer, I knew him, not too well, but I knew him. He was in my year. And we were waiting, queued up to go into the library. And he came up to me, and I'll always remember it. And he said, "Cheer up, you miserable bastard." That's what he said to me. Just a boy's way, isn't it, really? But "Cheer up, you miserable bastard. What's wrong? Mummy ran away. Ha ha." He went like that. And 2 or 3 people around me started laughing, and, you know, I didn't do anything. I was just angry and stuff like that, but whatever, and did my lesson, and that was it. But slowly we formed a sort of a friendship. He wasn't my best friend, but we formed a sort of a friendship over the time and what have you. And in the last year of school, he came in, and he'd been off for a couple of weeks. And I said, "Are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, good." I said, "You been ill?" And he said, "No." And he said, "Do you know what's happened?" So I said, "No idea." And he said, "My mum left home. We don't know where she is." And suddenly I remembered what he said to me when I was 12. So I said, "I'm really, really sorry to hear that." I said, "My mum also left when, a few years ago, but she came back when I was 14, and she left to get a divorce." And he said, "Well, I think my mum's done the same." And I said, "I know it's hard, and I know it's horrible and all the rest of it, but things will get better. I don't feel like it right now. It feels like your world's caved in, but things do get better, because they got better in my life." And he said, "Oh, thanks for that." And then he said, "I was a dickhead to you when your mum left." So I said, "Was you?" And he said, "Don't you remember outside the library?" And I said, "Well, actually, yeah, I do." I said, "But, you know, you said that, and that's done." I said, "The fact is, you're now going through what I went through, so you know how it feels, and you don't need somebody saying that to you. So I just hope that your mum comes back in time, and you get your life back on an even keel, and everything's fine and all the rest of it." And really that was about it. And, you know, I think we left school, I don't know, whenever, 6 months or so later than that. I never saw him ever again. But I've always remembered that, you know, "Cheer up, you miserable bastards. What's wrong? Is mummy run away? Ha ha." I always remember that, and I thought, my God, it was just ridiculous. But he was a child. He was 12. So children say rubbish, don't they? But I've always felt sorry for him, because that made him feel good, sort of berating me as a little boy, but then he had to go through the same, and I know what that feeling was all about. So I always felt sorry for him to go through the same. So I hope that he lived a good life, really. I know it's a short life, 40 years. I hope that he had happy things in his life, and you know, I hope all of them just achieved whatever. His name was Peter. There's Peter, Martin, Judith and Elizabeth, and all died of cancer in the last 4 years. And like I say, it just puts things into perspective. So I've always tried to live my life, really my terms, to the best of my ability. And I go where I want, I dress how I want, I spend time doing what I want. You know, I kind of work for myself. I've always done, well, not always, I've done that for many, many years. I work the number of hours that suits me. And I just live my life very, very much on my terms. Very much on my terms. And partly the reason why I do all that is because life is short. And you live your life however you live your life, and that's absolutely fine. But I don't want to be employed. I mean, I have a boss, you know, but I choose when I work, things like that. I don't want a boss lording it over me, you know, looking over my shoulder all the time. I don't want to work for a very low wage. I think if you're going to work, then you should work for the best wage that you can possibly get. I don't think you should work for too many hours per week, because again, life is short. You should spend that time either with people you love, or on yourself, on your spiritual self. Learn to meditate, or, you know, spend time reading, bimbling, writing, whatever you're going to do in life, you know, because it is short, and you've got to fill as much as you possibly can, very much on your own terms. And I think that's an important message. And there's many people out there that they haven't done that, or they can't do that for whatever reason. And that's fine, you know, as long as you factor you into your life. You don't give you away. Not too much anyway. So yeah, Martin, Peter, Elizabeth and Judith. Terrible. But we can only hope that they achieved everything that they wanted to achieve, and they had a good life. Even though it may be short, maybe it was a great life for all of them. Let's hope so. But it does put things into perspective, and I would say that we do need to think about our lives and think, is there anything that I'd like to do, anywhere I'd like to go? I've been lucky. I've done a lot of different things in my life. I've worked in a lot of different places with a lot of different people. I've lived in several different counties of the UK, which I always set out to do. That was always my plan, really. I always wanted to travel, so I've done that, but also travel kind of the way that I am now, although I'm settled now, finally. I wanted to experience living in different places, meeting new people, getting to know, just different accents of people and stuff like that. And I've lived in various different counties and done many different jobs with many different people, as I've just said, and it gives you a bigger, rounder view of life. So I'm happy that I've done that. And I need to sit and think, is there anything else now I'd like to achieve? Anything I'd like to do? Anything, you know, before time runs out, this short life, before that runs out, is there anything else I'd like to do? And currently, I must admit, I'm quite happy. I'm more content now at this age than I've ever been. I'm more comfortable, financially, every way, really. Apart from physically, I can't do a great deal about my health. It is as it is, and I wish that wasn't the case. but that's just wishful thinking. That's not something to achieve, really. I can't suddenly achieve great physical health. But I do need to sit and think, is there anywhere I'd like to go, anything I'd like to experience? Because I would hate to think that these four people that I've just mentioned, Peter, Martin, Elizabeth and Judith, if they didn't experience, I don't know, whatever, laying in a hot tub drinking wine, you know, owning a boat or a motorhome, or I don't know, whatever, having a canal boat holiday, if they didn't experience that, then it's not a waste of a life, but it's a shame that they didn't experience that. So I think it's good to experience everything in life, all the good, all the bad, all the indifferent, whatever, you know, but have mostly good in your life. And there's no such thing as luck. I don't believe that. You make your own luck, but luck doesn't really exist. When people say, oh, you're lucky to have that job. I feel lucky to have this job, but I don't really feel lucky. I feel very blessed and very grateful that the income that I've got now at my age is, you know, I'm very pleased about that, for instance. I'm very pleased about the limited hours that I work. I feel very blessed and very grateful where I live. I feel very, very blessed, the friends that I've got as well. Because some people die with no friends. You know, they, a set of circumstances have moved on. Perhaps they've got divorced, they've lost their friends because it was a nasty divorce and things like that. And eventually they die alone. And that's a real shame, but that's how things happen sometimes. But yeah, so everything's a lesson in life, isn't it, really? And I'm not being really maudlin or down or anything in this video. It is just matter of fact. It is just, you know, we need to start thinking things through before it's too late. And if you haven't achieved whatever, we need to start doing that. As soon as this lockdown is completely out the way and this virus is pissed off and what have you, if you've never been on a cruise and that's what you wanted to do, book it, do it. Might be the last chance. If you want a canal holiday or go skiing or whatever it is you want to do you want your place all decorated, all brand new furniture and all the rest of it, do it. Because if you put it off another 6 months, another year, another 2 years, the thing with putting off, you can put off forevermore. And you can say, oh, I'll have that canal boat holiday. I'll do that in the next few years. And then a few years goes by and you say, I will do that in a few years, and a few more years go by. And before you know it, 5, 10, 20 years have gone by, you still haven't done it. And chances are you might never do it. So if it's in your mind to put a new kitchen and a new bathroom and a conservatory on your property, do it. Because if you put it off and you put it off and you put it off, years drift into each other, and before too long, 5 years, 10, 50 have gone by. Life is not only short, but life is fast. Life is very, very fast. I left school at 15, so that's 41 years have gone by already. 41 Christmas days, 41 summers. So fast. And yet I can remember conversations about somebody taking the piss out of me because my mum had left home when I was just 12. I can remember that as clear as day. I can picture his face. I know where we were stood, the smell of the library. I can really picture so much. And suddenly, not that much went by, but that much, 41 years have drifted on by. Now, had I not achieved certain things, I don't know how I'd feel right now, because it does get too late in life to achieve certain things. But anyway, have a think about your life, and if you want to do something, The time is now. Time is now to do that thing, whatever it may be. If you want to buy a motorhome, buy it. The time is now. And if you don't buy it today, you might not be here tomorrow. If you want to buy a boat, go on holiday. If you want to decorate, build a conservatory or a swimming pool in the back garden, time is now. Time is running out, but the time is now. Take care and look out for those lessons. I'll be back soon. Be well. Ta-da.